So Caitlin Clark's dad, in a diplomatic way, says the refs in the WNBA suck. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our channel. I'm Mark.
And I'm Rob.
So, hey, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so with the notification bell when you do, so you get notified of our next video. So, hey, Caitlin Clark's crossover tonight, 5:30 to 6:30, and Mondays 6 to 7 Eastern time, except for major holidays. It's like a sports reporters type forum with guest podcasters. Please join us for that. So, Rob, Holly Rowe, she interviewed Caitlin Clark's dad during a preseason game.
New W parents, what did you learn in her rookie season that you can help support her and be there for her in this coming season?
Well, I think, there's a lot of room for improvement there. I think particularly in the officiating. I've kind of noticed a little bit of a difference. It looks like they're really officiating the game like it should be officiated. Because I think if you make the game more fluid, people are going to like the product even more than it is right now.
So, a couple things, Rob. First thing is, let's go back to the question.
New W parents, what did you learn in her rookie season that you can help support her and be there for her in this coming season?
Rob, his answer was the referees, but you know that he wanted to answer about other things too, in terms of how she was treated by the players in the league also. But he was being just diplomatic and went after the referees instead.
Yeah, he wanted to go off. He wanted to go off on the players and how the WNBA was treating her. But it being, like you said, he's very diplomatic about it. He went after referees, which it's a valid point to do that.
Well, if I was his father and I was not talking to the whole world, and you asked me that question, I'd say I learned that the league is somewhat racist. The league got very jealous and envious of my daughter unnecessarily. They attacked her. They assaulted her. She got treated like crap. They didn't market her, which would have helped out the whole league. They kept her off the Olympic team, and they shouldn't because they were jealous and envious of her. I would have, if someone was asking me that question, there'd be all sorts of things that I would be saying as a dad, that I would feel like my daughter got abused by the league and mistreated, and just a very cold reception, colder reception than any rookie since 1947 in a sports league. That's what I would say if someone gave me an honest answer and I was having a beer in my backyard over a barbecue. That's the answer I would give.
Yeah, the beer in the backyard. But if I'm on live TV, I think he did the right way. He was thinking that. But if he actually came out with all that statements, it would have been.
No, I'm just saying.
He would have gone against what he taught Caitlin Clark.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying. I'm saying I would have given the same answer in public like he did. But if someone asked me that, I'm just looking at the question she asked, and that's the real answer that I just gave. And I'm sure that he felt bad for his daughter, how she was getting, especially some of the physical stuff that she was treated. And I don't know, maybe the mental stuff bothered her even more, but I don't know. I just know as a father, I would have felt bad for my daughter last year.
Oh, yeah.
I was
definitely, yeah.
But and then just shows you, go ahead, Rob, sorry.
Yeah, but he had to be diplomatic about it, and because he did. Caitlin Clark didn't go off on it. If he had gone off on it, I think she would have been upset if he actually said what you were saying live, what he wanted to say. But he did pretty good. But he still, even with the referees, he was kind of like, well,
I'm not sure what she was expecting in her question. Like, what did she have in mind when she asked that question? Because I just listed a bunch of things that he could have answered that she wasn't expecting those either. I think he was expecting, I don't know what she was expecting. But
I think she's expecting him to speak a little bit more, like I said, like really said, well, I think officiating was that bad. I think Caitlin Clark's improved her game and her mental toughness from last year. I mean, yeah, she won a controversy and he didn't fall for it, which was good.
Right. So, anyways, I'm gonna just play the rest of it because there is part there that I want to talk about.
Well, I think, there's a lot of room for improvement there. I think particularly in the officiating. I've kind of noticed a little bit of a difference. It looks like they're really officiating the game like it should be officiated.
So, Rob, we talked about that in the preseason. We thought it was a little bit better than it was last year in terms of trying to take some of the physicality out of it. I think they dropped the ball a little bit, though, in the preseason game against the Mystics. They had 2 flagrant 1 fouls, and neither one, the first one, Brittany Sykes, that should have been a flagrant 2, and she should have been thrown out.
Right.
Well, already they dropped the ball. in my opinion. The league could have upgraded it and suspended him. They didn't. And the first one, I'm not 100% convinced that it was a throwdown, but it looks like a throwdown to me. And I would have given her flagrant one to err on the side of caution. And I know she should have been suspended, but I don't know, Rob. I'm not sure much is going to change this year. We'll find out. But then he did make a good point after that.
Appreciated, because I think if you make the game more fluid, people are
more fluid. So that's the point that we've been making for a year now.
Mm-hmm. Right. Make it more fluid. And then like I said, with being a referee, and like I said, all three sides, player, coach, referee, you try to be consistent. Just be consistent, and like you said, I mean that when she should have been suspended for that flagrant. That should have been a flagrant too, because shoving someone to the ground like that that's not part of the game. It's not part of basketball.
Rob, the problem is there was two major problems with the refs last year. Two major problems. One is they weren't consistent. Well, I'll say three. One is they weren't consistent. Two, they were lousy. They just missed calls. And number three, they didn't protect the players. And they didn't call the game tight enough. They didn't call enough fouls, which allowed the physicality to continue in this league that's probably existed for 28 years. And that's what he's talking about, making the game more fluid, because it bogs everything down and it takes away from what Caitlin Clark wants to play and what other players want to play, a more open game and less physical game, which is more exciting for the fans. And that's what they're missing. And that's why they need to correct that, and the consistency and the fairness, because Caitlin Clark got the worst whistle in the history of basketball, in my opinion. So hopefully that'll improve, but I don't have a lot of hope, Rob.
Yeah, as a referee, Mark, when you're refereeing, like if you have a rival, if you have a rival school and you know the game is going to be rough, as a referee, you got to set the tone, let the players know. It's just like a parent. You got to let them know the players how far they can go, and if they go over too far, then that's what's going to happen. But if you're inconsistent when you say, okay, you can get away with this the first half, but in the second half I'm going to call it tighter, that's not good refereeing. That's not good refereeing.
Right. Now, Rob, there was an article about this interview, and it just shows you the slant that some sports writers have, and they're supposed to be objective. And I'm going to show it to you because I was appalled by this article in terms of the slant that it had. This is from Women's Fast Break, and it's written by Grant Young, who's had some slants. He's more like old school WNBA, Rob. That's the impression I got. He's had slants before. And yeah, what do you think of the headline, Rob?
How did he roast? He didn't roast the referees. He could have done worse. He was just saying let the more of the game flow. He didn't say anything about we roast the referees. we do that, but I don't know how her father did anything close to that.
Caitlin Clark isn't the only person in her family who seems to have an issue with WNBA refs at times. Indiana Fever icon Caitlin Clark isn't fond of referees. Okay, I want to stop right there.
Yeah.
That is not necessarily true. In college, Rob, she got a fair whistle. And yeah, sometimes she whined and complained a little bit. But for the most part, in the first two games of the NCAA tournament her senior year, she did complain and whine because she was getting mauled and they weren't calling anything. And then her father told her to chill out and she cooled it. But in general, she didn't whine and complain a lot in college. She did it in the pros, Rob, because she got the worst whistle in the history of women's basketball. And that's why she doesn't follow in WNBA.
And she had to protect herself because her own coach wouldn't back her up, which is what you do as a coach. If you see that's going on with your player, she had no backup from her coach.
Right. It goes on. Tune in to just about any Fever game, and Clark can typically be seen showing frustration towards a referee at some point. Again, because of what I just said. But we'll go on. Whether it be over a botched call, a missed call, or something else, it's common to see the 23-year-old not seeing eye to eye with how the game is officiated. Of course, because it was officiated poorly and unfairly, Rob.
Yeah, it's horrible. I would be the same. I'd be worse. She was calm compared to what I would be.
Notice there's no mention here that the refs suck or that they were unfair towards Caitlin Clark in the Fever. Notice that there's no mention there, even though it's obvious all year long there was a bias towards that Caitlin Clark and the team. The article goes on, and it became apparent during the Fever's WNBA preseason game against the Brazilian national team on Sunday, which is taking place at the University of Iowa's Carter Hawk Arena, that this issue with the officiating runs in the family, Rob. Well, if you were the father of your daughter getting screwed over, it would run in your family too, Grant.
Yeah, if I saw my daughter getting hammered like that and the referees in the WNBA, the league doesn't do anything about it, I definitely would be kind of upset.
Listen to this line. It's pretty funny that Caitlin's dad immediately resorted to critiquing the referees. There's little doubt that Clark and her father had rants with each other about officiating in the past. Of course they have, because it's been awful and it's been unfair. And Rob, in terms of critiquing the referees, he resorted to that because he didn't want to cover all the issues I covered before that were even worse in terms of what you can say in public.
He could have gone further if he wanted to. He was being very diplomatic. Better, probably, like you said, better than you and I.
But the fact that he seems to think it has gotten better this season, or at least during the Fever's 2 preseason games, perhaps bodes well for how referees will fare this year. Then again, it's hard to imagine the Clark family will ever be completely content with the officiating. There's no indication here that maybe they have a viable complaint against the referees, Rob.
Yeah, all the complaint is correct. But, to say that that's their main focus of the season is wrong.
Right. So I don't know what, it seems very strange to me that this guy had his viewpoint is that there was nothing wrong with the refs last year. Anyways.
Yeah.
I want to get this out of here.
Get this out. Get this guy out of this. I'm going to Mark. I'm going to use one of my favorite words. This guy's a goober. He doesn't know what the heck he's talking about.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Try being fair.
Yeah.
Where's he could have mentioned that, Rob. He could have mentioned that she got technical foul calls that nobody else got for Rob for hitting the stunch, and that Donna Taurasi didn't get. She got one, for ones that other people didn't get. He could have mentioned that. He could have mentioned that, she got ticky-tack fouls, or that she got hammered and there was no foul calls. He didn't mention even that. I mean, those are obvious things. Even if you're not a Caitlin Clark fan, you could see that she got hammered and there wasn't calls. There was 3-point shots where they got in her space, Rob, and it was right in front of the ref, and he just swallowed his whistle and then called it the next minute for the other team. How many times did that happen?
With the flagrant fouls, she's had the most in the league. How can you not even mention that in your article?
Right. Because that doesn't fit his agenda. He obviously has an agenda to support the old guard league, Rob. That's what it is. Let us know what you think down below. If you like this video, hit the like button. Feel free to share it with your family, friends, and acquaintances. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so with the notification bell when you do. If you think Caitlin Clark got screwed over in the officiating, subscribe to our channel. If you don't think she got screwed over, subscribe to our channel. Just subscribe. Hit that notification bell, like I said, so you get notified of our next video. And guess what? Caitlin Clark's crossover is tonight at 5:30. Rob will be there with her friend Rich Latta. And it's 5:30, 6:30 on Mondays at 6 to 7. And it's Eastern time except for major holidays. And we have guest podcasters, and it's a sports reporters type forum. And it's really cool. We talk about Caitlin Clark. And if you want, you can donate to this channel with super chats and super things down below and a link to PayPal. And we'll see you in the next video.
All right. Peace out.